The big TikTok deal. A lot of questions about this. We've touched on it before, Jason, about the consortium, the delays in the law that was going to ban or force the divestment. Now we're here. We have outlines of what the Trump administration is proposing. And most importantly, people are confused about why TikTok, the US operations of TikTok, are being valued at a mere $14 billion. I went back through all the reporting. The most recent and most accurate number that I could find for TikTok's scale was that it did $16 billion worth of revenue in 2023, so it's a rather dated figure, implying that it's much larger now. And just for fun, if you presume 25% growth in 24 and 25, it would have about $25 billion in revenue this year. My question is, why is it valued at $14 billion? I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist, but I also don't understand that figure, so I wanted to get your take on the number.
Okay, that number doesn't make any sense. People are right to question it. What is the source of this number? Is this officially from the White House? Is it from ByteDance? Is it from, Oracle, who's paying for it? Do we know the source and the provenance of this number?
J.D. Vance, the vice president.
J.D. Vance said that. Okay.
In the Oval Office about 20 hours ago. Yeah.
Okay.
Just double check.
The administration said the valuation is $14 billion.
About 14. Yeah.
So something's wrong here. And it could be that the 14 billion is for the 80% folks are buying and the 20% that China is keeping, or 14 billion is the amount being invested. That's what I think is going on here.
Okay.
Somebody misspoke. I think the existing investors like Jeff Yass are keeping their shares. Brad Gerstner keeping his shares, I would assume, in all of this. Great trade for him, by the way, bestie Brad. So let's say the new group is investing 14 billion. And there's a communication error here where the 14 billion isn't the valuation, it's the 14 billion going into the company. 14 billion going in for a third of the company, if we assume the other 2/3 is the Chinese shareholders are keeping 20% and the existing shareholder base. Let's say only a third of this is new. That would make it a $45 billion or $42 billion valuation. $42 billion valuation would be 3 times revenue, 2 times revenue, something in that range, maybe. And so it would make more logical sense. That's what I'm going to say is going on here.
I just pulled the numbers. It's expected to be a 45% stake from the new investing group that includes Oracle and Michael Dell and Rupert Murdoch. So that would value TikTok at about $31 billion. Okay. So
makes more sense.
Makes more sense, but I pulled a bunch of them. Still low. And the reason why I think that is there's 2 kind of comps for this company. There's the social media world, and then there's the e-commerce world. So if you look at price sales multiples from public companies that we have data for, Meta about 11, Snap about 2.5, Pinterest about 6. And then on the e-commerce side, Shopify is valued at 18, 19 times revenue, and Amazon's worth about 3.5x. So no matter where you look, size of company, sector, whatever comp you pick, it still feels incredibly cheap. The steel man of this is from Keith Raboy, an investor that we've talked about on the show quite a lot. And he responded to Sheel Monhot from the fintech venture capital firm that I always forget the name of, BTC Ventures. And he said the company would have been worth 0 under federal law. So this is a heroic outcome.
That is true, but this does not feel like the correct valuation for the company. If you told me I could buy shares of TikTok right now for 14 billion, I would sell every share I own of every company and I would I'd sell 80% of every holding I have and put it in there because 1 times revenue makes no sense or less than 1 times revenue, if that's in fact true. And so I don't believe that's true. So we'll have to wait. A lot of times these breaking news stories, especially out of this administration, which tends to talk into microphones a lot.
I've noticed.
And they like having 5 different announcements a day about different topics, whereas the last administration, Biden had 2 press conferences in 4 years.